There are lakes you can fish at for hours and feel nothing but peace. The wind humming through the reeds, the water glistening in soft ripples, and the world outside fading away. But there are other lakes, cursed, heavy, and silent, where even the wind refuses to blow. The one I'm about to tell you about lies in northern Minnesota, hidden deep between pines and fog, a lake known by the locals as Devil's Mirror. Most call that name a joke, but if you ever stand on its shore at night, you'll understand it's not funny at all. I went there one late October, weekend with my cousin, Ryan. We were both obsessed with catching northern pike, huge, mean fish that fight like demons. Ryan had heard from an old guy in town that Devil's Mirror had monsters in it, bigger than any in the region. The man warned him not to fish after midnight, because things wake up under that lake when the moon hits it right. Of course, we laughed. We were young, bold, and didn't believe in ghost stories. We packed our gear, some beer, and an old boat, and headed straight there. The moment we arrived, something felt wrong. The air was thick with mist, and the forest surrounding the lake seemed too still, like the trees were, holding their breath. There were no crickets, no frogs, not even birds. Only the faint lapping of water and the creak of our boat as we set it afloat. As dusk settled, the lake's surface became glass smooth, perfectly reflecting the sky. It looked wrong, almost too perfect, as if the lake was a second world underneath, watching us. We fished for hours with little luck until around midnight when Ryan's line suddenly jerked so hard it nearly pulled him into the water. "I got something huge!" he shouted, his voice cracking with excitement. The boat rocked violently as whatever was beneath thrashed and dragged us toward the center of the lake. The reel screamed, bending the rod to its limit. Then for a brief moment the water broke, and I saw it. A massive shadow, longer than the boat, with pale, human-like hands gripping the line. I screamed at Ryan to cut the rod, but he was frozen, eyes wide with disbelief. "It's pulling us under!" I yelled again, reaching for my knife. Before I could cut the line, something splashed on the other side. Another hand, then another. Dozens of them, pale and glistening, breaking through the water, reaching for the boat. The smell of rotting fish filled the air. I slashed the line, and we started paddling like mad toward the shore. Behind us, bubbles boiled on the surface, and a faint sound echoed, like whispers. Dozens of them calling our names. We reached land just as the fog thickened, covering the lake completely. Ryan wanted to go back for his rod, but I grabbed him and dragged him toward the truck. As we drove away, I looked in the rear view mirror, and I swear I saw figures standing, knee-deep in the lake, watching us. Human figures, unmoving, their reflections gone. The next morning, when we told the story, at the diner, the old man just nodded. "You're lucky," he said. "They don't like to be disturbed after midnight." We left town that day and never returned. Ryan never went fishing again. As for me, every time I look into calm water and see my reflection ripple, I wonder if something is looking back. Years later, I took a job, guiding fishing trips up in Alaska, the kind of wilderness where you can go days without seeing another soul. There was one client, an older man named Frank, who wanted to fish near a river locals called the Hollow Current. It wasn't on any map. He claimed his grandfather used to talk about it, a hidden river where the fish sang at night. It sounded like a perfect adventure. We loaded up supplies and took a 2-day trek through dense forest until we reached it. A narrow, black river slicing through the fog, its water so dark it looked like oil. We set up camp in an old abandoned cabin nearby. It had clearly been there for decades. Rotten wood, rusted lanterns, and strange carvings on the walls that looked like fish, but distorted with human faces. That first night, I woke to a faint humming. At first, I thought it was the wind, but then I realized it was coming from the river. It wasn't just noise, it was melodic, almost like a choir under the water, whispering in a strange, rhythmic language. I froze. I didn't wake Frank. Maybe it was some kind of water echo or my imagination. But when I looked out the window, I saw faint lights drifting under the surface, like glowing eyes. The next day, Frank insisted we fish there despite my hesitation. The current was strong, but the fish were biting hard. I caught a few trout, but Frank kept pulling up strange things. Bones, bits of cloth, even an old rusted hook still attached to a piece of rope. "Someone's been here," he muttered. Then he pulled something else, a small, rotted wooden carving shaped like a fish with teeth. The air got cold instantly. The forest went silent again, just like at Devil's Mirror years ago. I told Frank we should stop, but he laughed it off. That night, the singing returned, louder this time. It was no melody anymore. It was a chant. Words in some guttural language echoed through the trees. Then came the screams. I rushed outside and saw Frank standing knee-deep in the river, rod in hand, staring straight down into the black water. I called his name, but he didn't move. His face was blank, his eyes glassy. The humming turned into whispers all around me, dozens of voices circling the cabin. I grabbed a flashlight and pointed it at him, and that's when I saw them. Shapes under the surface, pale and human-like, circling his legs. I sprinted forward, but before I could reach him, something yanked him under so violently that water splashed over the bank. The river went still. The singing stopped. I screamed for hours, searching, calling his name, shining my light across the black surface. Nothing. Then, as I turned to go back, something emerged. Not Frank, but something wearing his fishing jacket, crawling onto the shore. It moved wrong, like it didn't understand how legs worked. Its skin shimmered like wet scales, and its mouth opened far too wide. I ran. I didn't stop until I reached the tree line. And even then I could hear it behind me, whispering in that same tone as the river song. Authorities never found Frank. They said he likely drowned. But the river was shallow, barely chest-high in most spots. I never told them what I saw. Now, years later, I still hear that hum when I sleep. Sometimes when I close my eyes, I see the glowing lights beneath the water again, waiting, watching, singing. If you've ever felt that strange pull when you look into dark water, that urge to step closer to see what's beneath. Don't. Some rivers don't want fishers. They want company. If these true stories kept you on edge, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Turn on notifications and join our growing family of horror lovers. You never know. The next story might just save your life before your next fishing trip.